This is huge news for the future of AI. This week we saw an announcement on Instagram that we could have never expected, and yes, it completely changes the future of AI. We already know about the big players when it comes to new tech. Those are Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and a few others. But what if two of these big shot companies decided to collaborate? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Join us as we take you through the latest developments in the world of AI and what that could mean for the future. It all started with an Instagram post. Now you might be a little skeptical about announcing something so huge on Instagram, but when it's about the owner of Meta himself, we'd totally allow him to do that. By this point you must have guessed it. Mark Zuckerberg took to Instagram to share an interesting photo. And get this, it was with the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. The pair were all smiles while announcing the partnership between Meta and Microsoft. Zuckerberg wrote, and that's when the world of tech went into a frenzy. Meta and Microsoft working together on an LLM model. Things could get crazy. Now let's fill you in on how this happened. The two tech giants have had a strong research team of the best computer scientists and developers in the world. They've been working on advanced AI technology long before any of us had access to ChatGPT. Now in more recent times, Meta have created a super powerful AI system known as Llama 2. This system is designed to compete with popular language models that we're already using like ChatGPT and Bard. But why are they doing it? Is it just for the money? Well, it probably isn't. One of the main aims behind this project is to provide technology that's incredibly easy to access for both research and commercial purposes. And get this, they're releasing it for free. But wait, we can't talk about this partnership without telling you guys about what Llama 2 is. Now, if you don't know what Llama 2 is, you probably don't know much about Llama 1 either. Simply speaking, Llama 1 was a next-generation open-source large language program. But wait, here's the funny part. When Meta first released Llama, they actually didn't release it to the public. Probably didn't want to either. But somehow there was a leak from Meta's team that revealed the entire source code for the large language model onto the internet. And once it was already out there, Meta decided to do some good old face saving and ended up doing an official release. That way, at least, they would have some sort of control over how their LLM is put out into the public. And after that, Meta decided they would just open source all of their models, which means giving them out for free. Now, we might think this was an impulsive decision or something, but it might have had some very sophisticated reasoning behind it. One could say that the reason they're doing all this is because they want any fine-tuned version of the next level of AI programs to be built on top of their Llama 2 architecture. And if you ask us, that's a very smart move. We've already seen how a bunch of open-source large language models were built on the Llama 1 architecture. For example, there was one called Vicuna, an open-source chatbot just like ChatGPT. And get this, it was actually a whopping 90% of ChatGPT quality. And that's not even the most insane part. The cost of training the Vicuna LLM was only around $300 and anyone could run it on their trusty old laptop at home. Now, with Llama 2 in the pipeline, we're probably about to see a whole new wave of open-source large language models come out of the woodwork. Now, let's talk about why Meta would make their Llama 2 framework open source. It doesn't really make sense for a company to spend millions of dollars on research and then give it out to the public for free, right? Well, if you're in it for the long haul, then it's basically the best business move ever. If there are tons more large language models based on the Llama 2 framework, then Meta's the one who gets to dictate everything behind it. Well, don't know what that means? Let's put it in simpler words for you guys. Back in the day, every company was skeptical about open source programs because it was just something that these AI researchers couldn't catch up to. But wherever anyone else saw a threat, Meta saw an opportunity. They realized that if they could manage to keep releasing these large language models, then other open source agencies wouldn't bother. Which means that at the end of the day, Meta would be able to dominate the entire open source area, and that's their end game. You might remember that earlier this year, a leaked document from Google claimed that they had no moat. It was allegedly written by an AI researcher at the company who was talking about how the real competition to Google's generative AI wasn't OpenAI itself, it was open source communities. If independent developers across the world can build upon a model that easily competes with the performance of Bard and ChatGPT, but for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the size, then they'd be the ones running the world of AI, not these big shot companies. And that's where Meta just scoops in and steals all the business generated by ChatGPT and Bard. Alright, enough about Llama 2, let's rewind back to the partnership between Meta and Microsoft. Recently, Meta announced Llama 2, the latest version of their large language model. Now, while Google and OpenAI chose to keep all the details about how their LLMs are developed under tight wraps, Meta is taking a completely different approach with Llama 2. It's freely accessible through Hugging Face, Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. This means developers will have full access to all the code and data, allowing them to easily build and improve on the model. In fact, Llama 2 already has 3 different pre-trained model sizes, 7 billion, 13 billion, and 70 billion. And considering those sizes, it's safe to say that Meta is here to change the future of AI as we know it. Like we just said, Meta announced a partnership with Microsoft's cloud computing platform called Azure. And as of this week, all Azure customers can easily use Llama 2 as an option for building applications. Yes, you can still download Llama 2 directly, but with Azure's AI platform, you get all the fine-tuning, safety, and inference features that are especially designed for working with LLMs. We don't know what the financial terms of this partnership are, but we're pretty sure it's more about the two tech giants' public stance of democratizing AI than anything else. And even though Azure requires you to get a paid subscription, Microsoft has made AI-powered Bing and Edge tools 100% free to use. But wait, here's where it gets a little complicated. Those tools are powered by OpenAI's GPT-4 LLM, which actually got some heavy paychecks from Microsoft, too. All we can say for now is that Microsoft is diving deep into the world of generative AI, and it's ready to leverage any powerful partnerships to make it happen. And as far as Meta is concerned, the Microsoft partnership is actually a great way to make Azure developers use Llama 2. But wait, there's just one more thing. Can Llama 2 actually replace GPT? For now, the open source community seems quite conflicted about whether Llama 2 is open source at all. That's simply because of the slightly absurd terms and conditions for the AI model's use. For starters, companies with more than 700 million monthly active users will need to get special permission from Meta to use Llama 2. Even though that's a smart business decision to block Meta's biggest competitors from using the model, it does still put them at odds with open source definitions. And that's not all. We all know how easy ChatGPT is to use, right? Well, unfortunately, Llama 2 doesn't exactly have an easy-to-use consumer interface. It's only targeted directly at technical and corporate users who want to use the model to power their apps and services in the future. All that being said, we can't deny that Llama 2 is a powerful tool that can be used by companies across the board who are desperately trying to get their hands on generative AI. Even if it isn't as open as we thought, it is still free of cost and later open AI models aren't. It's too soon to say anything definitive yet, but early impressions suggest that Llama 2 might just knock ChatGPT out of the game entirely. If OpenAI wants to keep up, they better get to work before Meta comes up with Llama 3. And that's a wrap for this video. What do you guys think about Microsoft partnering with Meta for Llama 2? Do you think it's a smart thing for them to collaborate with Meta after heavily funding OpenAI's ChatGPT? Let us know in the comments below. And before you head out, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more awesome videos like this. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good time online learning team by Sir Asim.
Subscribe us.